Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world. We operate this out of Silicon Valley, but with a global footprint. Our team is global, our entrepreneur base is global, and our goal is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion in global GDP, and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring roundtables every week, week after week after week. This is the 353rd session, and we have really been privileged to be able to work with so many entrepreneurs in so many corners of the world. It's really been a revealing experience to see what people are working on, what kind of problems they're solving, and so forth. If you're live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. Our Twitter channels are at 1Mby1M and at Stromana. You may already be following it. If you're not, please do. It's a very rich channel. We publish a lot of interesting content, educational content, informational content, inspirational content through those channels. And every single recording of our roundtables are available at the 1M1M Roundtables channel on YouTube. So you can also use YouTube as a great repository of learning material, very effective, lots of interesting discussions week after week again. These are the call-in numbers. We're not quite ready for you to call in. I will put this slide up a bit later in the program, but we do want you to participate. This is a roundtable, not a broadcast, so we will have a lot of people speaking here, and we invite you to speak and engage and ask questions, weigh in with your thoughts and comments as much as possible. Use the public chat. Set your chat to send to all participants. That way everybody will be able to see your comments and your commentary. If you send me messages, private messages, I would not be able to engage with you quite right now because I will be anchoring the show, and I am not that good a multitasker to be able to talk to you, chat with you, and anchor the show. So if you have technical questions, you can send private messages to Maureen, who will be happy to try to resolve your situations. Okay, so we're going to start today's program with a conversation with Heidi Jannenga, co-founder and president of WebPT. Heidi, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So let's start by having you tell our audience, what do you do at WebPT?
So WebPT is an electronic medical record specifically designed for rehab therapists. That includes physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech-language pathologists. I am the president and co-founder of the company. And in my role, I lead the overall product vision, sort of the company vision, and also internally really helping to foster our company culture, which is extremely important to us, and intentionally lead with conscious leadership. I'm also the face of the company, so I help to lead all of the sort of PR efforts that we have for the organization.
And how did you come up with this idea? Why this idea? What was it about you, Heidi, that led you to this idea?
Well, so I'm actually a physical therapist. I was a sports medicine specialist practicing for a little over 15 years. And in my tenure, I had moved on to not only working as a therapist, but also being a director of 3 clinics. And being the director, you have P&L responsibilities, and if anybody knows about American healthcare, over the years, reimbursements have steadily declined, specifically for rehab therapists. And so if your top line is declining, you either have to increase by volume, which we tried to do as well, but you also have to look at your expense line if you want to maintain a profitability line at the bottom. And one of our biggest expenses was transcription and dictation. And so around this time, physicians were also starting to transition into using some sort of digital documentation platform. So I thought there had to be something out there for physical therapists too, and this was back in 2006. And so we took a look at what was out there. I just happened to start dating a software engineer at the time, and so together we went out and looked, and when he came back and saw that there was nothing web-based, everything was server-based, very clunky to use, really high capital expense, which even at clinics my size, we really couldn't afford. And they were also physician-based, which, did not sort of work with the physical therapist workflow. And so, at that point we said, I think we just need to build something, and initially it was supposed to be something just for my practices. We did a little market research, and we found that 80% of physical therapists were still using pen and paper. So the problem I was having in my clinic was actually a problem that was universal within the profession. And so we decided in 2008 to launch the company as WebPT.
And how does it work? Describe a little bit of the workflow of how this software works in your context. You said the physical therapist workflow is different and you needed something custom to that workflow. How, kind of give us a visceral feel for that.
Sure. So if any of you have been to see a physical therapist, you just don't see them once a year like you do a physician. So first and foremost, we have a lot more visits and interaction with patients on a regular basis. And in order to actually get paid for your services, you have to document, and there are many sort of compliance and regulatory issues as well that you have to sort of maintain through your documentation. And so what we initially started out with was the documentation component. We built the software from a physical therapist workflow. Brad, my co-founder, who is the software engineer, came in to our clinics. He followed our therapist around. He followed our front office around. So we really built the platform to be intuitive to a physical therapist or a rehab therapist from the very, very beginning. And so it includes all the tests and measures. We've now expanded, of course, the platform to much more of really sort of being like a sales force of the physical therapy rehab world. We want to include everything under the WebPT umbrella that is required software-wise to run a private practice rehab clinic. So now we have a scheduler, a digital scheduler. We have outcomes that are available that you can actually include and give to your patients and include in your documentation. We have a digital home exercise program, which includes videos that the patients can actually do online, as well as many of the other compliance and regulatory aspects that we need to really pull everything together within a private practice clinic.
How big is your market? How many physical therapy clinics are there that you're catering to, not as customers, but more as a target market? And how do you price your product to that category?
So the physical therapy market in the U.S. is a $6 billion market, and that may seem small or very niche. There's about 250,000 therapists across the U.S. That are our potential market. Right now we hold close to 35% market share, which we've been able to garner within the last 9 years of being in business since 2008, which we're very proud of. That really speaks to the product, the intuitiveness of it. We are a SaaS model, so we are software as a service. We have a recurring revenue model in which, as a basic price, it's $49 per therapist per month.
And how did you get started? Did you bootstrap the company? Did you raise money? What was the beginning genesis of this business?
Yeah, so I'm a huge bootstrap sort of advocate. We definitely had a little bit of savings. I continued to work full-time during the time that we were building. We started building in 2006. So we had version 1 up and running in about 9 months, my clinics were the first paying customers, then also some of my colleagues around the area started sniffing around and saying, hey, I want to see what you guys are doing over there. Within another 6 months, we had about 12 practices up and running using our platform, also paying us for the services, even in beta mode. And then when we found the market research, we launched the company in 2008. We continued to bootstrap until 2010, so basically for the first 4 years of the company. At that point, we had $1 million run rate, and a trajectory that was really, we're able to show that potential for the hockey stick growth that everybody's looking for.
So in 2010, you got to the $1 million run rate?
Yes. So in 2010, in 2010 we recognized that there were some regulatory changes that were really going to allow us to hit the gas pedal, and you know, that first couple of years we did a lot of education, and we were catering to early adopters, because EMR, electronic medical record, was not mandated for rehab therapists like it was for physicians, and so it's kind of an adoption through just organic growth. In 2010, there was a lot more understanding that this was the way to go, even though it was still not mandated. You know, in order to maintain your professional level, if physicians around you, who we rely on a lot of as therapists to get our business, if they're all having to use digital platforms and you're giving them handwritten notes, that doesn't say a whole lot about your professionalism. And so there was this kind of wave that started happening. So in 2010, we actually went out locally here and took in an angel round. We, you know, at that point with our $1 million run rate, we only had to give up a small percentage of our business, and we took in $1 million into the company in an angel round in 2010.
So you are based in Phoenix, Arizona, yes?
That is correct.
Talk to us about raising an angel round in Phoenix, Arizona, and this was in 2010, so it was still a while ago. What was going on in the ecosystem? How did you get connected to angels? What kind of angels, and what was the experience of raising money at that point?
Yeah, so 2010, obviously, if we all recall back what was happening during that time, I mean, it was during the middle of the, or just towards the end of the downturn, right? So Arizona is known for real estate, definitely not known for technology, although that has really turned around in the last 8 to 10 years. We were kind of on the cutting edge of, you know, this diversification need based on sort of the economic downturn that happened specifically in real estate. We were one of the cities specifically that had the lowest sort of drop because we relied so heavily on real estate for revenue in the state. And so, you know, when we went out to pitch, there were local angel groups here. They were a lot more focused on, not necessarily on technology companies, but more biomedical science, medical devices, things like that, which, you know, are a much harder sort of arena to raise money in because of the long cycle that it takes to actually come to fruition.
Intensive. Very, very
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we came on scene, eyes lit up. We had a unanimous group within the angel groups that wanted to learn more, which was the first time that ever happened because they vote on, you know, which group should come to be able to go through due diligence. And so, you know, we had a lot of interest, which was fantastic for us, obviously. So right timing meant everything. You know, we went through due diligence and we ended up going with a very specific group, Canal Partners, which was led by Jim Armstrong and Patrick Armstrong. Jim was the founder of JDA Software, if I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with out there. He built that company, you know, out of his garage in Canada to, you know, I don't know, $6 billion market cap or something crazy like that over, you know, a 25-year period. But he ended up being on our board, which has been just tremendous in terms of, you know, our ability to have that kind of experience and expertise at such an early stage of our company.
This is very interesting because, you know, this $1 million run rate for any company that operates in a subscription model, SaaS, software as a service model, is, for early stage financing, is a bit of a holy grail. If you can bootstrap your way to $1 million annual revenue run rate, ARR, as we call it in the industry parlance, there are a lot of investors who are willing to invest in you. And this is true here, this is true in Silicon Valley, this is true in pretty much all geographies, and there are, angels and VCs now in a lot of geographies. So in a way, what you have done is kind of become one of the most desirable companies to invest in for the investor group, because that is what they're looking for. That is the style of company that they want to invest in. Of course,
you are correct.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. That seems to be the magic number that everybody talks about. I now speak at a lot of entrepreneurship conferences alongside of, angels and VCs, and that is the magic number they always talk about, alongside, of course, of, the other things that they're looking at, which are management teams, right, the potential for the growth, what is your market size, all of those things, which we did get a little bit of pushback, I'll be honest, because we were so niche, and niche now is also one of the things that people really love, and that was a little bit different back then. They were very much pushing, us to potentially look at vertical markets that we could increase our market size, but, when push came to shove, we held steadfast to our core competency and what we knew, had a lot of potential in greenfield opportunity. I think, again, which was one of the really important decisions that we made to not get distracted. And, $6 billion, that's nothing to sneeze at in terms of a market size.
But you keep using the $6 billion number. How do you come to the $6 billion number? Because you said there are 250,000 practices in your target audience. Is there an average number of practitioner or number of therapists per practice that you assume?
Yeah, so the $6 billion number includes a lot of things, which now is part of our platform, which also includes things like supplies, right, that physical therapists use within their practices, to the equipment that is used inside the four walls of a clinic. So there are a lot of other things outside of just the EMR perspective that in the user base that we can sell into with respect to our company. So that's how you come up with the $6 billion. It's not just necessarily only based on the number of users that we have potential to sell into.
So just to kind of clarify this for the audience, in this case, with this case study, Heidi's case study, the way you would calculate, the bottom-up TAM is to take the subscription prices, and you said $45, but maybe you have expanded that over time with additional modules.
And that's just for the basic user, yes, that's for the basic user model. Now, on average, our customers are paying us $450 a month.
And $450 a month with multiple modules, or is it with multiple practitioners?
Both. So multiple practitioners, multiple modules, and that is for an average SMB small business. Now, we've also moved up market, right? So we now are catering to, enterprise groups. We have multiple clinics, up to 100 clinics within their practice. So, 50, 60, 150 users, therapists within their organizations. So we span, 450 to upward of, 10, 15, 25,000 a month, depending on the size of the business. And so it just depends on, but it is based on much more multiple modules, not just, I gave you the very basic price, which is what we started with, which we've never wavered from in terms of a per user cost.
Yeah. Great. So basically what you're seeing here is that when you start in the market, you start with one module and one target audience, and then you kind of upsell into that audience and increase the average deal size, etc. But it's a very well executed business, Heidi, and it's very impressive how you've done it very tightly. And I know you raised that $1 million in 2010. So tell us a bit more about what revenue level did you get to with that $1 million? And I know you've done some private equity financing. How far did you get to before you brought in the private equity money?
Yeah, so in 2010 we took that $1 million in. We turned that 1 into 17 in 2 years. And so in 2013, with the metrics that we were having and the close rates and, again, that trajectory, the hockey stick that we were able to show, of course you start getting, private equity and VC companies starting to sniff around as well. We kind of held them at bay because we've never built our company based on any kind of exit strategy. We've always wanted to build a great company. And we knew that, if we continue on building a great company with a great culture, that, interest would come in whatever fashion that would be and sort of help us to define an exit strategy as we continue to grow. And so in 2013, we started entertaining some interest from private equity and VC. And, at that point, again, we didn't need money. It's very similar in 2010. We didn't need money, which I think is very key as you're going out for funding. Yeah. When you become a little bit desperate and you need it to continue to be in business, that puts you in the, not in the driver's seat, which we were always in the driver's seat, which was very important to the deals that we actually ended up being able to complete. But we used an investment banker the second round when we actually decided to go bigger in terms of working with a private equity or venture capital firm. We kissed a lot of frogs. We entertained a lot of interesting, different organizations across the United States that were interested in our company, but ended up sticking to our thesis, which was we wanted to have a partner, financial partner, not just someone who would be able to write a check, someone who would be able to provide resources, someone who would truly believe in what we were trying to accomplish as far as our vision and how we were going to do that, and not operators, but who would allow us to continue to really run the company and build on the culture that we had so much so well established as the foundation of our business. And so as we did that, we ended up taking on Battery Ventures out of Silicon Valley, a Tier 1 VC, into the business in 2014 for two reasons. One, just their extreme expertise in not only SaaS, but in healthcare. And also, personally, we had a managing director who was a woman, so kind of that girl power, girl boss kind of atmosphere that, I was, very much in tune with, I think also helped to persuade our decision, along with obviously many other things. But that was great for me to kind of have that cherry on top to not only, continue to move forward with a Tier 1 company like Battery Ventures, but also to work with, such a defining, strong managing director like Chelsea Stoner, who's been now on our board and leading the charge from Battery with WebPT.
And how much did you raise in that round?
So we raised a small capital round, but we were also able to take a little bit of liquidity. We haven't ever made that public, but we were able to take some liquidity off the table for the founders, which was really nice. We've been running at that point for 6 years, which doesn't sound like a long time in years, but in startup world, I feel like I always talk about it as dog years. It's a grind, and we had all our eggs in one basket, and what you don't want to be as founders at that point is risk averse. You want to be able to really crown the company and be able to make the right decisions without having to worry about, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean to me financially? And so Battery understood that and rewarded us nicely with some liquidity, and we're still the largest shareholders behind Battery Ventures at this point, moving forward as we take our company to that next level.
And it's a very common model, by the way, folks. We have had lots of entrepreneurs as case studies where you build up to a certain amount of revenue, and then and significant revenue. This is in this case, it's $17 million in revenue is a lot of revenue, with $1 million in investment. So you have a very nice cap table, basically. You have lots of room to take more money without diluting yourself too much. And also, this is a point where very often entrepreneurs like to take some liquidity, and the private equity players are very conversant with that whole desire and how to structure them and all that. So So the message basically is that if you can do the hard work of heavy lifting through those early years, then there are very systematic ways of, getting liquidity and so forth as you grow. So Heidi, a couple of questions before we move to the mentoring section of the program. What would you say was your key growth lever or levers?
I think as far as our success, I think there's been a few things, and so we closed out 2016 just under 40 million. Our goal for 2017 is to do just under 50. I think I mentioned earlier of never building towards an exit strategy, just really trying to build a great company. Some of the growth levers have been compliance and regulatory-wise. There's been some mandates that the government has put forward that, has helped us with our trajectory of the educational component of people really understanding what, that they can't do it on pen and paper on their own anymore. They need the intuitiveness, the logic-driven automation that we have within our platform. Continuing to be built by a therapist and having the input of us, we continue to listen to our customers all the time. We have a strong relationship with our customers, which we call members. We feel like we built a community at WebPT in which not only people that use our platform and our software, but those in the greater profession, we take their input and try to really understand where the profession is going and how we can actually have an impact on that. I think has been also huge in terms of our growth. In terms of the management, I think that there's also, in retrospect, we made a lot of right decisions. In 2010, we ended up taking on a CEO into the company alongside of the founders, and I think that was one of a major decision that I think founders sometimes struggle with, to bring an outside person into the business. And at that point we were humble enough to know, hey, listen, I came forward with a lot of operational strength, and obviously with the physical therapy subject matter expert knowledge. Co-founder software engineer came with a lot of experience in building enterprise level companies, but had not done that on his own. He had done that with other people or working for others. And so what we both didn't have was sort of this processor mentality of bringing in the metrics, bringing in the scalability to an organization, which is why we brought on a CEO who actually had a lot of COO expertise. He had never been a CEO before, but having that experience in working in startups and getting them to a scalable place, really, as we look back, that trifecta was really important to us in that, especially in that growth phase of taking in that million and being able to turn the company around and not turn it around, that's a bad thing to say, but change the company to be more scalable, get out of startup mode and into high growth mode where you've got scalable processes that can be repeatable, and not just have to throw bodies at all of our issues, right? We started into the automation phase. Now in 2016, we've actually brought on another CEO. We replaced our previous CEO. Nancy Ham is now leading the charge as CEO of WebPT, which we're thrilled about. She has an extensive healthcare background as well as technology and SaaS experience in building much larger companies. I think that it's important for everyone to understand that there is big differences between the time frames and revenue milestones within an organization. It's a much different company when you're in startup mode versus high growth, to where now we're even pushing on our goal for 2020 is to be a $100 million company. To get a company from 0 to $1 million takes expertise and grit and grind and wearing a lot of hats and being okay with chaos. That 1 million to 25 is about processes and sort of getting that scalability component into the organization and the metrics and making more data-driven decisions, right, and not just gut feel like you do during the early stages. And then now it's expansion via now you've got VC money, it's expansion via acquisition, it's, you know, it's again more scalability, it's more driven processes and automation that's going to really take us to, and thinking about profitability, right? During those early years, we were happy to break even and maybe even be burning cash to continue to look at top-line revenue. Now we're looking at profitability. Again, taking a much different mindset. And it's okay, right? It's okay. You need different people during those different phases to help get you to where you want to be.
Last question. You hinted at this a bit. What is your perspective on women in technology entrepreneurship? Have you faced discrimination? What has been your experience?
Yeah, I don't know about discrimination so much. I mean, I think as a founder, you kind of you supersede some of that a little bit. I know that when we were going through the phase where we were working with an iBanker to visit a lot of, I think we visited probably 100, 110 different companies that were interested in us, at least via phone call or even in person. I was always the only female at the table. I'll relate one funny story. We were visiting an organization, I think it was in New York. We were sitting around this beautiful table looking out, you know, along the skyline and having this great meeting. And we took a break. We were taking a bio break. And I had to use the bathroom. And so I went down the hall, but there was codes that you had to put in order to use the restroom. Well, I came back, and of course, none of the men in the room knew the code to the women's restroom. And so it's just a really funny story because, I mean, there was no other women in the building at the time, and then the receptionist finally came back and gave me the code, but I'm like hopping on one foot. Finally, I was like, listen, I'm just going to go into the men's restroom. But it's just one of those things, you know, they never think about it. But also, I mean, I'm also an avid reader, and one of the things that I really learned early on in a lot of these sort of meetings is just the power of body language and how you sit at the table, that you do sit at the table, that you have a presence, and, you know, kind of making sure that you have a voice as well, because a lot of times you could get talked over or, you know, not necessarily allowed to or given permission to speak versus, you know, being able to just say what you wanted to say as the other folks at the table were able to do. But I think, you know, as a co-founder, that immediately got me a presence, especially being a subject matter expert. I was more knowledgeable than anyone in the room, and I made that tried to make that as known as possible with respect to my domain, which was very distinctive versus, you know, even the other, you know, co-founder and CEO at the time. So, you know, it was interesting. I've been an athlete all my life. As a sports medicine therapist, I worked with male athletes, so I've kind of always had to hold my own in the men's world, so it wasn't foreign to me. I think the biggest thing for me was the transition from physical therapist into the software world, where I felt very much like a fish out of water for quite a long time.
That's a good
but
transition.
One of my strengths is resilience. I talk about my spirit animal being a chameleon, and so I'm able to blend into different atmospheres and environments very, very quickly, and sort of make it seem like I belong there all the time, which I think has really helped me in this sort of, you know, new world that I've now adopted as my own.
Well, and also the fact that you bootstrapped to 1 million annual revenue run rate before you walked into meeting these angels. It doesn't matter that they were mostly probably male angels. They don't see that very often from men or women entrepreneurs. And when they do, they know that this is a rare opportunity to be successful. And I can tell you this, no investor is going to discriminate against you if you have the metrics that are solid and well thought through, well executed, well engineered. And my message to most women entrepreneurs who are complaining about discrimination is that focus on the fundamentals. Try to get customers, try to get revenues, and that's what really, you know, drives away discrimination, not just like foo-foo stuff. But your points on body language is also very true. I think, I've spent most of my life in very male-dominated environments, and has it never been awkward? Yeah, sure, there have been awkward moments, but I think it's body language, it's your confidence, it's your voice, tone of voice. All of that helps in holding your own. Heidi, pleasure, really, really inspiring, and thank you so much. Are you staying for the rest of the show, or do you have to run?
Yeah, I'm going to stick around for a little while. I blocked my schedule out. Okay. I'd love to hear some of the pitches that are coming up. So thank you for the time. I love telling the story and paying it forward. We embrace our community here in Arizona and specifically in downtown Phoenix, where we've really been able to sort of be a beacon for others to really, pave a path to show them that it is possible, and I love doing that as a woman entrepreneur as well, of showing people that it's possible, and so I'm thrilled to be here today. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great. So folks, while we are getting ready to switch to the entrepreneur pitch portion of the session, let me set some expectations here before you start your pitches. Remember, this is a working session, and we are completely on your side. We are here to help you accelerate your journey a bit, and we have absolutely no other agenda besides that. Now, you may disagree with feedback you get from me or from Heidi, and that's okay. We give you feedback based on our experiences. You, ultimately, it's your venture. You're going to make the decisions, and you can rule out those, feedback, whatever, and sometimes you will find that feedback is worth paying attention to and folding into your strategy. That's a choice that you're going to have to make. Now, one thing is true, though, and this is mathematically true. Not all businesses can raise money. So please don't be obsessed that entrepreneurship equals financing. It's not. Raising money doesn't guarantee success. Not all businesses should raise money. Not all businesses can raise money. There's, the fundraising piece has become an obsession in the industry, and we caution you against getting trapped into that obsession. And the other thing is, as I said, it's a roundtable. So if you are not pitching today, please do participate in public chat as much as possible. And then we'll open up the line for Q&A as well. StreakHelmet, Abhishek Chatrani, that's the first pitch. Abhishek, please unmute your line and tell us.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
How are you?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Abhishek. I'm the co-founder and CEO of StreakHelmet. We are developing a smart helmet. Can I change the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem that we have seen over the years is that people die in road accidents in India. It's a lot happening every day. The most of the accidents are due to two-wheelers, and among them, 98% people don't prefer to wear a helmet. We confronted around 200 participants in a survey, and we asked them why they don't wear a helmet, because it's really a safety gate. They will help them during serious injuries. They told that helmet is still compulsory here. A lot of people follow the rule, but they don't like the helmet. And if you see the stats, if you meet with an accident, there's a 98% chance of dying if you don't wear a helmet, and 2% chance of saving your life. I'll change the slide. The potential market that we have seen. We are developing, I'll tell you about the product. The total helmet market is around 120 million in India, and we are targeting Tamil Nadu. I am based out from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, it's around $20 million. If you see, in India, every year 30 million helmets are sold. Among them, 1.3 million helmets are sold only in Tamil Nadu. The company overview. Started with the social cost of reducing deaths in two-wheeler accidents. We have seen a lot of friends dying during the college days, so we wanted to add some features to the helmet, make it smarter, safer, and more personalized. If you see the helmet market, they are not customized according to the user's convenience. So our purpose is to be a leader in the industry. Our mission statement is to reduce deaths. If you wear a helmet, there's a 50% chance that you can reduce deaths. So we want to make a helmet a statement, just like a smartwatch. We want to develop a variable in the helmet industry. Our target customers will be around 18 to 50 years old, bike racers, tech freaks, and enthusiasts who love new tech. Our product features easily mounted Bluetooth set for calls and navigation. We have seen that people take their phone in hand during driving and they use it. So we want to reduce that. We want to add Bluetooth headset for calls and navigation, voice automated indicators. We have added indicators on the helmet so that the person coming behind can see the rider whether he's taking a left or right. It will help in the lights coming in his light of sight. Then we have accident detection. We have seen that in accident around it takes 1 hour for the ambulance to reach. So whenever the user meets with an accident, the app, we have an Android beta version app. It sends a SOS location, with location to their family members. You can add up to 3 contacts and it will send a SMS. So they can call an ambulance on the spot. We'll give custom styling of module. First, for the MVP, we are developing a module where you can add it on your helmet. The helmet which you can see in the prototype pictures, it's around 9 months back. We have developed a better version of it as a module. You can add it with magnet. We plan to price it around $2,200. It will be around roughly $40 or $50. We have seen in international market that the pricing is really big for customers. So we want to keep it as low as possible with a good profit margin as well. The current solution, we can see that there are companies working along RevSmart Asia and Scully, but Scully was reported bankrupted last year. It's based out from Silicon Valley. Another one is LiveMap. It's based out of Europe, and our nearest competitor is RevSmart Asia. When compared to the pricing and the features that we are growing, we are way ahead of them. Then the business model that we are looking for the first year, 1.5 year, we are looking as we'll make a module. We'll add it as an accessory to helmet. Further in the future, when we generate some cash revenue, we'll invest that into the helmet manufacturing and we'll develop our own helmets. We want to change the user experience and make helmets a style statement. We'll be B2B based on that. We'll sell the module to the helmet manufacturers as of now, and in the future we'll send it to customers directly. We will also provide a SaaS. Our app will be a SaaS service where you can customize a few features based on a paid subscription. The revenue model, we are planning to go pre-sales on Indiegogo for crowdfunding by mid-July. We will have a few paid app features where you can change the light of the helmet indicators. We'll have recurring revenue with B2B model where we can connect with more helmet manufacturers and also the bike manufacturers. The revenue sources will be mobile module as an accessory, software as a service, tie up with two-wheeler companies as well. In India, a few companies sell their helmet directly with the two-wheeler. So we'll plan to sell the module along with that, and in future we'll also come in bike gears and accessories. We'll make a few keychains, custom stylish, and we'll sell it online through e-commerce websites. Our team, I'm a mechanical engineer from background. I'm the CEO. Nikhil Chaudhary, the CEO. He's also a mechanical engineer. He has a 1-year experience in operations in the glass firm. Nitin Sharma is the CTO. He's a mechanical engineer. He was a robotics teacher in a small robotics startup based out from Chennai. Nikhil Bora is our product development head, and milestone is our product engineer. We have went to a few hackathons, few competitions. Since this was our project in final year, we continued it as a product after a good response from people. The future, we are looking at helmet with built-in module. We'll have solar charging as well. The timeline that we are looking for, as of now, we are working on the iteration of prototypes. And after a few iterations, we plan to launch it by mid-July. And we'll give it to customers for testing by June. We'll have pilot testing. And by next year, January, it will hit the market. The 3-year roadmap, our first target will be Chennai. Then we'll further move to other countries and as well. We are actually connected with 2 strategic partners, AutoNebula and Arrow Electronics. AutoNebula is from Pune, US. Arrow is from US. Arrow is helping us in technical requirements. AutoNebula is our strategic partner. We are looking for a seed form around $14,000 or $15,000. It's roughly around 8 lakhs. we'll develop a few prototypes and we'll test it with our customers. That's
so
it. Thank you.
Have you worked on or have you talked to investors already? Do you have a strategy for how to raise your street seed fund? I mean, this is not a lot of money, right? It's under 10 lakhs, you know, $15,000 is not a money, $15,000, $20,000 is not a lot of money. Usually these kinds of investments need to be done in a friends and family mode. Have you done any of that work yet?
Yeah, we have spoken to a few family members. I have in Mumbai. I have asked them. He said that first you develop the complete prototype, then we'll talk about it. We have a 40 pre-order customer base also. There are a few customers who have shown interest through our website and through our survey.
What about getting some pre-orders from a few of the you know, two-wheeler dealerships or two-wheeler companies in Chennai? Why don't you, you know, strike partnerships with, you know, maybe 8 dealerships and get them to pre-order, let's say, 100,000 rupees worth of, you know, orders. And if you have got 8 or 10 of these, then you've got the money you need, and you've got a channel in place.
That's a good point. We have not connected with the dealers as of now. For the past 3 months, we have been on the product and developing a few strategic partnerships as well. We'll try this one out soon.
Okay.
That's a good
the presentation is good. Heidi, do you have feedback for Abhishek?
Can you go back to your competitor slide?
Yes.
So the only question, I mean, one of the questions I had written down was, you know, when you showed your helmet, is there, and these are all other competitors that are creating helmets that have similar technology embedded into them, correct?
Yes.
So have you thought about potentially, because there's a lot more, you know, this is a replacement sort of situation, sort of. I mean, I think it's compulsory, you said, so not everybody already has a helmet. So not only are you trying to convince them to wear a helmet, but you want them to wear a helmet with all of these features in it, which is an expensive helmet compared to probably a helmet without these features, correct?
Yes.
So how are you going to go about educating and you know, convincing the masses that, you know, not only are they not wearing a helmet today, but now they have to wear a helmet with, you know, like I said, that's more expensive and obviously has more bells and whistles, but how are you going to convince them to wear a helmet in the first place?
We are planning to have a few sessions across the different race communities. In India, a lot of race communities are there. If you have a good bike or someone who loves to ride a bike, we will try to educate them. We'll show them how the features will be worth their money and how it will help them live a good life. Because as we've seen in accident reduction, a lot of people if they meet with an accident on road in India, not a lot of people help them. So we want to directly place the message to the ambulance or to the family members so that they can get.
So what is that got to do with race communities?
The race communities, people usually like to listen to influencers. If you are an expert in a bike, so people will listen to you if you buy something related to the bike. So we'll try to educate them.
I don't agree with this strategy, frankly. I think there's a much simpler message here. I do think what you're pointing out is very true. Heidi, I don't know if you've been to India. The Indian cities are really crowded. And these two-wheelers are very popular transportation mechanisms. And in this extremely crowded street, you're navigating a two-wheeler and you have a phone in your ear. It's a very precarious, you know, mode of using phones. So I think one of the best messages is actually to kind of work around that message and accidents and so forth. And work through both PR as well as influencers like the dealerships. I think you should, you know, sell through the dealerships very aggressively, where when people come in to buy a bike, you're already selling them motorbikes. Of course, that's one portion of the sales process. You have to also hit the segments where people already have bikes, and you're better off going to the more tech-savvy user base. Not so much the racing people. I think it's more the tech-savvy users who are going to respond to this. Go ahead, Heidi.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and I would also potentially look at, I'm sure there's advocacy groups out there that are already trying to do PR and promote the importance of wearing a helmet, right? And so if you can get in early with some of those groups for them to maybe even endorse you and your helmet, if you've done any research with it, to where they are now advocating for your helmet, then now you've got this sort of free avenue of PR, which is going to reach a whole lot more people, and they're spending the money on the commercials and all of the other things. I don't know what they're doing in India with respect to advocacy or billboards or whatever they're doing to help to try to promote this, because I think that that is the area that you already have a captured audience that understands the importance of a helmet, because you're going to have a big uphill battle in convincing those that are not wearing helmets today, which I think you showed on the slide is a large percentage, that you're now trying, that is your market. That is your market that you now have to convince to not only buy a helmet, but buy a helmet with your technology in it.
Yes.
All right, we have to close at that, Abhishek. Good presentation. Good luck. We are going to move to Sidharth Vijayan in San Francisco. Wally is the company. Please unmute your line, Sidharth, and go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Shumana.
Hello.
Hi, Maureen. Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
Thanks. Hi, Heidi. Thank you for your presentation. It was really nice to hear your story and sort of your trajectory and how you've become the voice of, trying to become the voice of women in entrepreneurship. Really have been supporting that while I was I'm still at school at Health International Business School, and we have a separate program which helps women get more accustomed towards entrepreneurship and getting into the field and doing great. So thank you for your presence and your presentation. Okay, getting to my presentation. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Cool, all right. So what Wally intends to be is your pocket-sized money manager. The reason why we came up, or me and my co-founder came up with the concept and wanted to build something in this particular space is because all of us have certain tendencies to spend unconsciously or subconsciously, like the extra coffees that we buy a day. It could be cigarettes for some people, it could be sodas for some people. So many different things that we spend on subconsciously without even knowing. And so the business problem I identified is the average human being is bad at managing money, and there aren't good solutions to help in terms of the small transactions that you make subconsciously on a daily basis. And none of the current solutions that we have today really help on in that respect. Next slide, please. The human problem behind it is saving is just not a natural tendency for the developed societies, especially because banks are pushing you to spend more and have a good credit rating and then pay back. And so it's trying to put you into a cycle that you're not really necessarily want to be in, but good to have because that's how the system is built. And also, when you talk about savings, if I've spoken to hundreds of people and asked them, why is savings not such a good thing that you think of? It's just perceived as a boring and cumbersome process, and there's very little benefits today. If you save money in your bank account, you're practically getting nothing. It's like 0.25% of what you put in there that you're actually getting back at the end of the year, which is practically nothing. You'd rather spend it on something that you would, see a tangible benefit with. And so that's another reason why. Can we stay on the previous slide? Sorry, Maureen. Yeah, and also the reason why saving doesn't become something that you would like to do is because there isn't a purpose attached to it. When I ask you, why don't you save? People just start asking me, why do I save? Well, why should I save? What should I save for? So that gave me sort of an insight as to build an ecosystem around answering that question of what you should save for. And hence the concept of Wally, where we would like to ask people 3 different simple questions. What do you want to save for? By when do you want to save it, and how much do you want to save? So answering these 3 simple questions, it gives me an understanding of what you want to save it for, save money for. It makes it personal for you as well. When I ask you what do you want to save, it just doesn't make anything personal. I'm just saying I'd like to have more money, so I would like to save. But over a period of time, when you remind people that you're supposed to save, it's no longer personal because it's not something you want to do. But in our platform, what we're trying to do is understand what you want to save for, how much, and by when. And with that understanding, I can present so many different solutions to you by reminding you that, hey, Heidi, you want to save for a holiday in Thailand, and you said you're committing to save about $1,500 towards that holiday in Thailand, or $900 towards an iPhone, or for someone it could be home renovations, whatever it is, small size transactions that you're looking at to do over a period of 1, 2, 3 years, and have an ecosystem around that itself. So the moment I understand that you are saving up for a holiday, it opens up an ecosystem of partners that I can work with to sort of give you the best offer at some point in time, where you could either purchase immediately and save up for it, or save up for it, and when the time comes, I could open up the data to the relevant partners and then give them the information. They could start competing to give you the best offer. So it's a win-win for both parties, right? They get to sell the stuff to you, and you get the best possible price because you've saved up for it. So the intent to save is reaffirmed, reassured as well. So what Wally does is basically keeps track of that. So I'll ask you these 3 questions. So if you notice the boxes here, the data captured, the data analyzed, and then finally the marketplace. So the user is basically downloading the app and giving me these kind of 3 simple information points: the categories that you're saving for, how much you're saving, and by when you want to save. Based on that, I'm able to crunch data and give you smart analytics, because I would have integrated your banking account into the app, and I can give you what you're saving or what you're spending on, how much you have to save, and all of that analytics, and keep reminding you on a daily, weekly, fortnightly basis that, hey, Heidi, you said you're going to save up $2,500 for this purpose. Today, you have to save so much. So keep yourself from spending too much. I remind you in the morning, maybe another reminder at the end of the day, or checking with you whether you did save that or not. And based on your spending pattern, I could actually build analytics smarter. Next day, it would either add up if you've already spent too much and say that, hey, you were supposed to spend $5, save $5, but because you overspent yesterday, today you're supposed to spend $7 lesser. And then that can become like an ecosystem. And this is the team. Currently, we're a team of 3 MBA graduate students at Health International. That's our expertise. I'm a product manager and a person who's managed a couple of businesses at the previous organization that I work with. This is our go-to-market strategy, where we're trying to raise about $400K in pre-seed round to work on the. We're currently working on the app as we speak. My co-founder Madhukar is an engineer and a person who's worked on solutions in the cloud. I'm a person who's worked on product management and have built a SaaS platform for the education network in India. We're also planning a hardware device, which we plan to go on Indiegogo live in about a week or so. The campaign is just about ready, and we're trying to raise at least the Indiegogo campaign is not for validation of the entire idea, but the validation of whether we need the hardware component or not. The hardware would be a smart wallet.
Component?
Okay, so the hardware component is only a sort of an extra value add for the customer, because today I've seen a lot of people spend anywhere between $10 and $150 for a smartphone case or a leather wallet, which doesn't necessarily add any sort of functionality beyond putting your card and cash in it. But I thought that there is, reason to believe that people are spending so much money, so they should have a little more additional value to it. If a smartphone case or a wallet can understand that the card was put in and removed, I have extra analytics of how many times you're actually using the card, and hence ping your bank account and find out, okay, what was that transaction that just happened? And by that, I could understand how many times in a day you're spending, and I could preemptively alert. So if the smartphone case is in a particular location, that automatically tells the app to check. So the hardware component is sort of a go-to-market strategy where people are spending any which ways on a smartphone case. Why not add value to it? It's not the king or the hero of the story. It's a good to have sort of a component in the story.
So I have 2 comments on what you have on this slide, and I'll just give them to you before we move to your whatever else you have in the presentation. First and foremost, if you expect that you would be able to raise money for an app before you have put the app together and launched it and got some traction, that is just not what's happening in the market. So the only kind of money you can raise right now is friends and family money. So this assumption, in my opinion and in my experience, is a false assumption. So if you put that in your critical path, that is not going to pan out most likely. The chances of that panning out is very, very low. So that's number one. Number two is I have very mixed feelings about complicating your product roadmap with this hardware component. I think as it is, these days getting an app, getting mind share for an app is extremely, extremely difficult. And then you are complicating matters further by putting a hardware in there and so on and so forth. See, the thing about startups is not taking the largest amount of risk. It's actually mitigating as many risks as possible and keeping things as simple and as straightforward so that you can get to some level of traction and ideally monetization as quickly as possible. That's what gives you the highest probability of success.
Great. So
the story that you heard from Heidi is the most common format of success story that we see in the market, where it's a bootstrap first, raise money later story. And what that does
I would agree. Sorry, not only that, but we started simple. We started with one small piece of the bigger potential that we had and launched with that and made revenue off of that versus trying to be everything to everyone all in the very beginning. And so we stayed very clear on our path and gained traction, and then we were able to establish a much larger footprint in the market. And then you have upselling capabilities within your own customer base at that point. But I would definitely agree with what Samara said.
And what you have on this milestone chart is a whole lot of assumptions about fundraising, and if you put those assumptions in your critical path, the chances of your being successful as entrepreneurs becomes very low probability. Today, if you want to be successful in venture, in any kind of startup world, you're going to have the mentality of bootstrap first, raise money later. The funding cycle is moving further and further away. The successful funds are raising bigger funds, and they want to do bigger deals. As a result, they have to go later stage. There are small micro VCs and smaller funds that have come into the game. There are angels who have come into the game, but as you're hearing from Heidi, her first round is from angel investors with 1 million annual revenue run rate, and there are lots of entrepreneurs right now who are striving towards that, and that's whom you're going to be competing with. So if from an investor point, put yourself in the shoes of an investor. You have an option of investing in a venture like Heidi's, where you have 1 million ARR already there, and you have a venture that is completely, unproven and very, very high risk. Where would you put your money?
Sure. Hear that.
Okay. So those are our feedbacks. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move to Bobby Goodman in Chicago, Illinois. Bobby, please. Goodman Truss? Is Truss the company? Truss the name of the company. Okay. Bobby, please unmute your line.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Go ahead.
Hey, how are you? Good. Well, I know that we're looking to move things along, so why don't I just go ahead and get started. And Heidi, what you said really resonated with me. I'm one of the co-founders here at Truss. I actually, in a somewhat unconventional scenario, have 3 other co-founders. So there are actually 4 co-founders in Truss. Heidi, like you, I was and am the subject matter expert. This is a commercial real estate play that we're talking about here, and my history is 15 years as a commercial real estate broker, where I help companies acquire and dispose of their office space and look for space. So with that said, Truss is an end-to-end platform that helps startups and SMBs find and rent office space, and what we've built is a double-sided marketplace. Where we allow landlords and their agents to post their available spaces, and then we market to companies that are typically a little bit smaller in nature, maybe a little bit unattractive to the normal brokerage community from a commission standpoint, and we help shepherd those groups through the leasing process, which if you've ever looked for an office space, it's extremely complex, it's extremely confusing, and it really doesn't need to be. So speaking about the pain points that a lot of our customers have seen is searching for office space is a really time-intensive process that typically takes CEOs, CFOs, and other heads of organizations out of their traditional business decision-making roles and sends them on the streets looking for office space. It's a horribly inefficient use of time because the industry is fragmented. Listings are not all in one place. And most importantly, as a small company, again, brokers tend to ignore this segment of the market, and they'd rather refocus their efforts on companies that need larger spaces. So what Truss is providing is a platform that is a solution for smaller companies to go from search to lease with ease and without the confusion that the process brings today. Next slide, please. So what Truss is and what we kind of like to think is our secret sauce, and really it's nothing that secret, it's just a better way of doing things, is we feel that by uncovering information very early on in a company search process, we can empower those decision makers with the right information, the most efficient process that allows them to make the best, most well-informed decisions for their companies quickly. And the key there is really information. If any of you have ever been engaged in a commercial office search, you know very well that information does not flow freely, and you tend to find things out and uncover certain hurdles months into the process that, if had you known up front, would have really saved you a ton of time. So that's really our goal here, is to really make this process a much more efficient and streamlined flow and transaction for everybody involved. So we're in a tough market here. We're trying to please two sides of the equation here: landlords and companies. Let's go to the next slide. So about a year ago, we raised some capital. We hired a couple of software developers. The co-founder starved for a year, and we worked on building this product, and then actually launched the product to one side of our marketplace towards the end of 2016. And that's the slide you're looking at right here. And really the first step in our process was, okay, well, you're not going to attract tenants unless you actually have spaces to show them. So we had to go out and convince these major institutional companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, that, by the way, make billions of dollars with how the world works for them today. So there's definitely a change here. Long story short, in 6 weeks, I pitched over 50 of these companies. I walked in there and convinced 95% of them to list all of their available spaces in Chicago on our website, giving us richer data than any other listing company out there. So the story resonated with them, and that was our first step in hopefully our multi-step process to a successful company. So on the next page, we needed to figure out a way to have tenants be able to find us, and this was a really big challenge. And the reason being is tenants usually don't know where to start in this process, and they usually have a friend who's a broker, or maybe they know someone who can kind of help them through shepherd them through this process. But we needed to actually market to these tenants and find a unique way to do so. So we actually came up with a four-pronged approach. Two of them are items that we've all dealt with and you've all seen, which are the digital marketing side and the traditional marketing side. But 2 points that kind of came up almost out of nowhere was we were able to convince bigger brokerage companies to refer smaller deals to us because they weren't enough money for them to spend their time on. And then with the progression of co-working spaces like WeWork, Regis, et cetera, we were able to partner with many of them so that when these incubated companies kind of were ready to leave the nest and find their own space, these co-working companies would refer them to us. So So not only are we going with a traditional and digital approach, which the digital has been really successful for us so far, but we found a really unique play here to actually establish partnerships within the industry so that we could build traction with smaller companies looking for space.
Interesting.
Next slide.
And are these co-working spaces asking for something in return, or is it just a good for the community kind of thing?
No, so that's a great question. So what you see right now are your normal listing companies, and just to simplify what that means, let's say the commercial MLS. So the commercial MLS, you have 2.5 big players in the United States. They charge exorbitant, sometimes cost-prohibitive fees to landlords to list their properties. Because our monetization is actually being paid the commission when the lease gets signed, we're able to give landlords free access to our platform. So we're willing to take the risk and give landlords the ability to list their spaces for free because we're confident we'll be able to capture the tenant user base and close these transactions for them. So we're basically being paid a success fee. So we've switched up the model.
And you are taking money from the renters, from the tenants, not from the property owners?
Actually, we're not taking money from them either. So we are a licensed broker. Think of us as E-Trade 20 years ago when they started to disrupt the financial services industry. Truss is a licensed broker. We have in-house broker consultants to help answer live questions for our users. And if our tenant signs a lease through our platform, the landlord pays us a commission, which is how it's done today anyway.
Yeah, so it's a regular process that you are making efficient, and the business model doesn't change anything. It's a regular brokerage business model.
Yes, it's a regular brokerage model, correct.
Okay, got it. All right, go ahead.
Sure. So to just kind of give you guys a quick snapshot of where we're at today. So, you know, I mentioned that at the end of 2016, we started acquiring available space inventory. We officially launched to the tenant side of the marketplace late in February of this year. Like I mentioned, we have about 95% of the downtown Chicago office inventory, and we have about 55 current, let's call them beta tenant customers. We've already closed 8 transactions. We've done over $100,000 in revenue in this time period, and it's part of our strategy because there isn't really a huge barrier to entry here. We needed to move fast. So we actually launched our second market, Dallas, just earlier this month. We hired 2 phenomenal 25-plus year brokers out of 2 top firms in Dallas, and they're now leading our charge there. The beauty of what we're doing is starting in Chicago, which is the second largest office market in the country, we have all the major landlords in town. So as soon as we got them here, they are willing to help us roll out the carpet and launch other markets. So there's been a real domino effect, and now we're just trying to keep pace with the demand. So to give you guys a quick snapshot of a case study and some of the successes we've had with some of our clients is a case study here at a company called PageVault. They are a Chicago startup company. They were in an incubator, and that incubator had them on a lease, and their lease was up, and they had to move out. They waited a little bit too long and only had a couple months to do so, which in my world, it means they needed to sign a lease yesterday. So we got them onboarded on the Truss in just a matter of minutes. And because of the rich data we have on our platform, which brings complete pricing transparency, and that does not exist today, as hard as that is to believe, it doesn't, they were able to find their space very quickly, and then within 17 days of looking at that space, we closed the deal for them. I've got to tell you, in 15 years, I haven't closed a deal in less than 60 days, and I've done thousands of them. So to close one in 17 days is pretty phenomenal. So that's kind of our story, and really, you know, I was hoping maybe I could ask you some questions. You are the guru in the room, and always looking for good sage advice. So, I'm curious, considering, the tenant base we're going after, SMB startups, in your experience, what's the best and maybe most effective way for our message to resonate and reach entrepreneurs, SMBs, and startup companies?
I think these days, one of the most targeted ways that you can market to anybody actually is through Facebook, very targeted marketing, content marketing, but using Facebook. You can do pure advertising also, but I like content marketing on Facebook as one of the best ways to, and you can really focus, you can really deeply look at, how to target. So that's one area that I would learn. If this is an expertise that you already have, great. If you don't, that's an area that you should develop expertise in and see how you can leverage that channel. And of course, there's Google, Google PPC. These are, what you want is to really get specific and targeted. And it's expensive. These targeted advertising is expensive, but it's also, given the fact that your average revenue per customer is relatively high, I think you can afford to do a bit of this kind of marketing, even if it's expensive, and I think it would pay off for you. We need to move on. AI conversations are very lengthy conversations. I would recommend that you go to our blog, and we have a thought leaders in artificial intelligence category. AI is one of the biggest things that is happening in the technology industry today. So we are very much covering it aggressively, intensively. So read that series, and that will answer your question much more, in a much deeper way than I could in this little short time. We have one more person. Thank you very much. Your presentation was excellent, and I'm thrilled to see that you're, making very good progress, showing revenues, and I'm sure that if this is something that you want to raise money for, you will have the metrics with which to raise money quickly, or you already have it probably.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sumit Chahu, you are up next, the last presenter today. Please, sorry Heidi, I didn't have time to bring you into that presentation, but we really need to cover one more.
No, that's okay. I will put some info over chat because I do have a lot of thoughts on this as a startup who went through that same scenario.
Great, that would be perfect. Meanwhile, Sumit, why don't you start your presentation? Yeah, go ahead.
So am I audible to all of you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So hi, this is Sumit Sahu, co-founder of Travdos. So I love travel and software. So I created a passion out of both, which is known as Travdos. So why we created the Travdos and what is this all about? I'll just explain you in a simple way. So Travdos is a SaaS-based omni-channel productivity tool which helps the enterprises, the travel service providers, and the inventory owners to connect in a single network marketplace and do a synchronous business altogether with the real-time inventory sharing of theirs. So it's a SaaS-based model. We can go to the next slide. Let me go to, yeah. So it's a SaaS-based model in which we build up the solution of having a transparent solution in between the enterprises, in between the travel service providers and the inventory owners. So in today's day, what is lacking in those environment is enterprise has many number of vendors, and they are connected in a vendor management system in a kind of a portal which each and every company has of their own. And a travel service provider has a silo system which actually takes care of some of the needs of the enterprise which they are connected in. So if they are connected to multiple multiple enterprises, they have to go through the pain of doing it multiple times. And the same with the inventory owner cases, they either maintain either on a pen and paper, or they maintain like with some kind of a software tool or accounting software. So these are the only kind of things which they have. There is no.
Sumit.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? What vendors are we talking about? So far, I didn't understand anything that you said.
Okay.
Which is a bit scary because I'm a reasonably smart person.
Okay, the travel service providers. I'm talking about the corporate car rental companies. If you can understand by this point.
Okay.
Okay.
So what about corporate car rental companies?
Okay. Now what the corporate car rental companies have, they are a vendor to an enterprise.
Yes.
Then they have their own cabs, or they aggregate it from the inventory owners from the market. So there isn't a omni-channel tool which connects all of them three in an integrated platform.
Yeah, of course there is. You know, all the companies like Expedia and they all have car rental booking services. You can get the best prices on car rental on Expedia, on Kayak, and so forth.
Yeah, that is the thing which I'll explain you on a later phase also. So what these companies do, they take the rates. Now, when you come to the backend processes, is completely offline. It is done completely offline, basing on the survey which we did it for Make My Trip, which we did it for GoIbibo, and also we did it for Clear Trip. These were the three companies, Indian companies, which we did the survey with. So now, like what happens in the entire procedure? What happens? A employee gives an request to the admin, and then the admin sends it to the multiple vendors which they have, and then the service provider checks it from the list manually, that which is available and which is not available. Then he puts down the same information back to the admin. Then the admin puts down to the employee. So this is a chain. And then once it gets hello.
Let me try to help you explain this a little bit better. If I have understood this right, you are talking about a somewhat unorganized car rental sector in India, where there are car rental companies who either have their own cars or operate with a bunch of different car owners, and they're kind of the middlemen, you know, aggregating the demand. And today, the way they plug into the OTAs, like the Clear Trips and the Make My Trips and so forth, is that it's still a very manual process, and you're saying that there is not enough software penetration in that unorganized sector to be able to interface efficiently with the online travel agencies. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So one thing you're going to do after this call, this recording is going to be available on YouTube. I would like you to listen to this recording and figure out how I explain this thing and how you explain this thing, and try to learn how to explain what you are doing more crisply and more precisely, so that you don't, when you talk to other people, when you try to explain to them what you're trying to do, you are clearer in that explanation process. Because if you can't do an elevator pitch of what you're doing, you can't grab the attention of people. People are not going to engage, right? If you take 15 minutes and nobody understands what you said, then you will not be able to engage them.
Okay, I'll take care of that. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay.
So now this is the things which I am talking about. The enterprises, the service providers, and the inventory owners. I guess this would explain the things whole up in a bunch of lines which they have. So enterprise nearly spends about $100,000 to $300,000 for an internal management system. They keep it nearly like 2 to 3 admins for the same. And then the service providers, they have 2 to 3 persons who manually handles these processes. And then you have inventory owners. There are some persons who manually does these processes for you. So what we do is we automate the entire processes with an AI-based applications, what we do is it collects all the information, customer information, their requirements, and it matches with the exact services available and the inventory available, live inventory available in the real-time basis, and then checks down through the market pricing and the sizing and gives it back to the enterprises. So this is the solution what we provide. Can we move on to the next slide? So this is the solution what we have, a cloud-based transparent solution with an integrated app-based information system with an AI-based automated inventory management system and an integrated GPS system with an automated billing system and a network marketplace for all these stakeholders, which comprises of the quotation management, billing management, and the enhanced billing business conversion ratio center. So can we move on to the next slide? So now this is the market scenario which maybe like for you it can maybe have changed, but what we considered is the economic impact travel and tourism 2015 travel guidelines. According to that, it was near about a 4.9 trillion market, and 1.6 trillion market was there in the Asia Pacific region, out of which 75 billion.
This is not your market. This is not your market. You need to learn how to do bottom-up TAM analysis. Your market is not travel and tourism. You're talking about corporate travel. That's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
If your focus is on connecting the unorganized car rental sector and the enterprise customers in India and figuring out how to automate and you know, turn that into an efficient marketplace, that's not the tourism market of Asia Pacific at all.
So actually we have two models which we work out with. One is the tourism model and another is the corporate model, because maximum of our agents which we're connected with works with these two scenarios. In a city-based agents, they mostly work with the corporate agents, and when you go down to a tier.
Sumit, you're going to need to learn how to do bottom-up TAM analysis. What you're doing is top-down stuff. Most companies that are doing businesses are not operating with trillion-dollar market opportunities. We are working with, most people are working with, you know, $100 million, $200 million market opportunities. Some are working with, you know, multi-billion-dollar market opportunities, but you're not working with trillion-dollar market opportunities. So you need to learn some methodology of how to do a proper bottom-up TAM analysis. Let's move on. Let's actually go to your questions. I think we understand what you're doing, what you're trying to do. Let's go to your question. Are you already in business? Are you already working? Do you have a software? Do you already have clients?
Yeah, we already have software. We are already connected to 20 of our enterprise customers who are Swiss Hotel. These are HHI. This is PwC. We have Synclus. We have more than 20 enterprises customers. We have more than 50 agents which are connected to them, and more than 500 cabs which are connected to them, which do a synchronous business with them together.
Fantastic. That is music to my ears. So tell us more about the business. Where are you with the business? Okay. And you know, what kind of revenue are you generating? What is the business model? All that. That is more interesting.
So we have a SaaS-based business model, a simple business model. We run it on a SaaS-based platform, which nearly accounts up to $15 up to converting the dollars, $15 to $33. As in the 30, 45, $60 we have up to the highest customization what we have. So $15 to $60 on an average we have.
Paid by the car operators, car rental operators, or the enterprises, or both?
Both.
Both.
So both payers.
So both parties are paying in a SaaS model to be part of this marketplace.
Correct.
Okay. So how much revenue have you done so far?
So till date we have got $10,000 of revenue, and we are constantly increasing it up. We just launched it 6 months back, and we are near about we reached about $10,000 of revenue till date.
Okay.
And that's 10,000 recurring?
Yeah, it's on a recurring basis.
So 10,000 recurring, as in $10,000 a month. Is that a monthly recurring revenue number? 10,000.
So $10,000 till date we have received means
cumulative.
First were
cumulative.
Yeah, cumulative. It is first first 2 months were free. So we gave them for the analysis, like how they looked about the product, and they gave us the what kind of a thing would they need to have, and what is the thing what they would really need to have in this kind of thing. So we worked on with them for the 2 months, and then we took the payment from our vendors, from our partners for that everything.
All right. So let's actually go to your questions. Where would you like? We are kind of at the end of our allocated time. So where would you like to spend another minute or so to discuss?
Okay. So let me go through my questions. I have my questions ready.
You have a question slide? No, you don't have a question slide.
No, not really. Actually, I didn't get that question in that part. So my first question is what should be the right time when we should approach an investor, because this is not an investor pitch deck at all. What is the right time when we should approach an investor, and when we go to our customers, they ask many customizations on a SaaS-based software, so which is impossible for us to build. How to deal with those things in a very simple and intuitive manner?
So that the question on investors is, the more fortified you are in terms of your metrics, the higher chance you have with investors. So our philosophy is, we have a very catchy saying on this: do not go to VCs as beggars, go to VCs as kings. And the more you have goods, metrics, solid numbers, solid customer adoption, the better response you get from investors. So that's my answer to your first question. And the second question, and we can get more specific if if we work with you within 1Mby1M, we'll guide you very specifically on what are the next things, what are the few things that you need to do before you go to investors, and so on and so forth. So that's my answer to the investor question. Your question about specifications and customizations is, you are at the very early stages of engaging with customers. You have a bunch of enterprise customers, which is wonderful, and you have a bunch of car rental providers, which is wonderful. So you have a set of early customers who are giving you feedback. So the way to think about it is not so much customization, but these are people who are helping you spec out and scope out the product. And these are very important customers, because these are the people whose insights and whose workflow you are going to build into the product to make the product robust. So the way to handle it is take all that feedback and then prioritize and then put it on a product roadmap over a period of time so that you can bring the functionalities in. Again, there are very specific ways of processing feedback and so forth. So that's my general answer. I'll let Heidi take a minute to respond to you, and then we'll go to closing comments.
Yeah, to your first question, I would just say, when is it time? Well, there needs to be a reason. It sounds like you're gaining revenue and you seem to be doing okay. I mean, if there's a trajectory to be able to build some of the things that you need to build to satisfy these enterprise groups, and you have them, in your portfolio, then there's potential to put together a very nice deck, which you definitely need help on putting together a deck. To be able to pitch for money. But until you really need it, or you can show how that money is going to be turned into an ROI for the business to be able to show growth with that money, then there's no reason for you to do that. And I would being a bootstrap advocate, I would ask you to continue to see if you can do that based on, the fact that you've already gained traction very quickly, which is kudos to you and your product. On the sort of second aspect, and I'm losing what your second question is. I had a good answer and I forgot now. Sorry.
Getting a lot of
the product roadmap. Yeah, so that is really how we were able to get so much traction as well, right? It started out with, my knowledge and what I was doing in my practice, but as we started getting more feedback, implementing the roadmap items that they were wanting only allowed us to be more scalable and more attractive to more businesses, because now you actually have them as your subject matter experts on top of yourself or whoever's in your company that knows this space. So I would continue down this path. Congratulations on gaining that many so quickly. That's a kudos to you and your product. So I would keep going and go as long as you can until you really feel like you're getting backlog because you don't have the dollars or the rubies to do what you need to do to continue on this trajectory path.
Sumit, you have a very promising company in here. So definitely, keep going. Good luck, and we'll be happy to help if you need help. But definitely keep going, and we look forward to your success. Folks, we're going to do a little closing section. You're very welcome. We're going to do a little closing section and explain to you how to use 1M1M if you want to use 1M1M. And then we are kind of at the very end, but I would still stay for a little bit of Q&A. So one request we have is if you like what we do here at 1M1M, and we've been doing it now for 7 years, so please feel free to refer 1M1M to serious entrepreneurs, people who really have the tenacity and the resilience to build companies. And it's a very, very, very difficult process. It takes a tremendous amount of nerve and grit and hard work and so forth. So if you know people like that with those characteristics who are looking for help, we are very much here to help you and them. So resources-wise, 1M1M.com, you'll find everything there. There's a terrific blog with numerous case studies. There are like hundreds and actually thousands at this point of case studies that you can learn from. There's continuous trend coverage, continuous discussions with thought leaders, and you can learn from all of them. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series, there are 12 volumes of these, and they are case study-based books, 12 to 16 case studies per book, and they double-click down on particular topics. Very heavily bootstrapping-driven methodology, so you can start getting into the 1 million by 1 million methodology through the books. These roundtables happen every week. You're very welcome to keep coming back and learning through this process as well as the recordings. The full acceleration program is 1M1M Premium. And there you get extensive methodology guidance, a full curriculum, help with business development, help with financing, help with media relations. We have a lot of clout in the media, and we get the word out about your product or service through our channels. And then we give you project-based, you get methodology training through the curriculum, and then you get project-based coaching, consulting, mentoring through private roundtables, same format as this, but they're private members-only sessions. That's pretty much it. If you are getting stuck, by the way, we would like you to do the 1M1M self-assessment. It's a series of questions. It's available for free on the site. Ask yourselves these core strategic questions. And if you get stuck on methodology, you can also access the curriculum only for $99 a month through 1M1M Basic, and that will help you plug the methodology gaps that you may have. Anyway, dig around on the website. There's tons and tons and tons of material. You can figure out whether this program is for you or not. It is very much a self-learning program. So you have to be a person who's comfortable with self-learning. And my take is that when I was designing this program, my take is that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not a self-learning kind of person, your chances of succeeding as an entrepreneur is very low. So I have no apologies to offer on designing a program that requires a heavy-duty amount of self-learning. So And it is a case studies-based program. As you heard today from Heidi, her story, her experience, her lessons from the trenches, this is what we are doing continuously in text, in video, in every possible touch point, in podcasts, of bringing you people who know, who have done things before you and who are offering you insights. You can stand on the shoulders of people who have done it before and learn through their experiences. And the methodology is lean, capital efficient bootstrap startups. Bootstrap first, raise money later is our funding mantra. And we have roundtables every week, one more in May, and then all through June we have 5 more roundtables. So hope to see you in one of the upcoming sessions. We'll do a very quick Q&A. If you have questions, and if you're still here, please go ahead and ask your questions in public chat. Debbie Gao, I have a question. What if you just can't bootstrap? Debbie, my response to that is come and pitch at one of the upcoming sessions. I would like to work with you to see what is the best path forward for you. I can't answer this question in vacuum. Folks, if you have questions about the 1M1M program, please feel free to connect with Irina Patterson. Her email is irina@1Mby1M.com. Hardik Shah, how important are patents in the beginning of establishing a business? Hardik, if you have something that is heavy-duty intellectual property that can be turned into a patent-based defensive strategy, I would suggest that you put together a provisional patent application and get the process rolling. But very often, especially in software and, a lot of internet companies pretty much compete on execution. It's not patents that drive competitive advantage. Damian Igby, does every business need a business plan? You need a business strategy, and typically in tech, we work very much with just a slide deck, a business plan slide deck. We don't really write out detailed business plans. All right, folks, we're going to close up today. We are 15 minutes over time. Heidi, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for staying on the call to share your insights and mentor the entrepreneurs. We wish you all the very best, and it's been really a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for what you are doing for the entrepreneur ecosystem globally. It's amazing service. So keep going. It's good stuff. Glad to be here. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Perfect. Folks, thank you all for coming. I hope before the next time we meet, which is next Thursday morning, you all make lots of progress and get a lot further in your navigation of the entrepreneurship path. And we'll meet you back here, same time, same place, same working session, and we'll keep working. Bye-bye. Coming again.
Bye.
Thank you.